Hello and welcome to this new podcast, Accelerating Timelines. This is where myself, Bethan Carr, and Astara will be journeying through the realms of cosmic energies, esoteric wisdom, and personal spiritual development. We'll be exploring unseen forces that shape our existence, from the influence of celestial bodies to the profound insights of ancient esoteric traditions. And each episode will be delving into topics designed to elevate your consciousness and empower your spiritual journey. So, first of all, we'll start by introducing ourselves. Astara, do you want to let everybody know your work and what you do?
Oh, hey, Bethan. It's great to be on this podcast with you. Yeah, I'm Astara and I am an angelic clairvoyant. I channel a wonderful collective of angelic beings, which I call the Angelic Council of Light. And I've been receiving a huge amount of information about birthing the new earth and how we can prepare and ascend into the new cosmic timelines that are being created here.
Fabulous. I absolutely love your work and it's extremely powerful. And my name is Bethan Carr. I am a spiritual coach and spiritual mentor, and I work predominantly with elemental energies, channeling their wisdom and their guidance, and a lot of galactic energies as well. Yeah, and just really helping people to align with the new timelines and their highest path. So today we are going to be tuning into some of the big events that have been going on recently. We had the planetary alignment on the 28th of February. So we wanted to channel a bit more information on that because we felt like there was a lot of symbolism around this event. And I know these are unusual events. I don't know what your experience is of these kind of astrological events and things like that, Astara. I was just reading that this particular planetary alignment only happens every 77 years. The extent to which they lined up this time was even more rare than normal.
Yeah, that was my impression as well. And I just want to say on this because we had a conversation a very long time ago, didn't we? Like in 2016, I think it was. And we looked at the astrology and said, "Oh, for the next 7 years, it's going to be really like chaotic and a bit crazy." And we weren't kidding when we said that to each other, were we? Like it has been the wildest ride. And I'm hoping we're in 2025 now, that by 2027 we're going to see a little bit more of a flow on this energy because it has been, quite a crazy cosmic picture. And I think this planetary alignment we've just gone through, we're going to be feeling of the effects of this for my guides are telling me for many, many years to come. Like the cosmic energies that have been manifested in this alignment are really going to be affecting us, but also affecting the next generations of peoples on Earth. I think it's quite a ripple, and we don't really understand it yet. But we're going to have more information hopefully today with our guidance coming through.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to really seeing what the insights are and what the guidance is around this. And yeah, I remember that conversation we had 2016 or whenever it was, and it did feel like it was going to be a long time coming. At that, I can't believe how fast the last 7 years have gone, but I think it was around now that, like you said, the next couple of years, the energy would feel lighter and there would be more sort of awakened souls on the planet that would be really shifting things quickly. So I think, with these cosmic events like the planetary alignment as well, that is accelerating everything.
Yeah, I mean, when we had that conversation back then, it seemed like astrology was something I was kind of interested in. I kind of felt the effects sometimes. I definitely felt the moon cycles. I was already into that. But I don't know about you, but I sense that there's been this much deeper connection to the cosmos and the astrology that's happening and how it affects the collective and us individually, like on a personal energy level. Than I have ever had before in my life. Do you feel that, Beth? Do you feel that that's kind of happening?
I feel like my energy bodies are way more sensitive now. I think probably we always were receiving as much energy or as much insight but we weren't tuning into it. We weren't kind of deciphering it as much, and we were more distracted to feel the energetic shifts that we do now.
Yeah.
Um, we're in our heads a lot, then we're not in our bodies and we're not sensing things in our energy field quite as much. And I do think that I've shifted a lot, over the last sort of decade to be a lot more finely tuned into influences on my energy field. So I think that's part of it as well.
I remember that now because I remember going through all those ascension processes, and I think you're right. Well, our energy bodies were being prepared, and it's almost like our instruments were being tuned up so that we can really receive and respond to these, incredible energy patterns that are going on. It's almost like there's been an amplification, but I think you're right. Our ability to receive that and sense and know what it is, I think has been upgraded as well.
Yeah, I wonder if I mean, we've spoken between ourselves, haven't we, about integrating all of our parts and having more coherence and things like that. And I'm wondering whether we're getting to a point where we're more, how can I put it? Like we don't just have that one point of awareness that jumps between are we in our head, are we in our body? It's almost like our awareness is in the whole of our aura, like we're picking up. Whereas before we'd have to kind of be in deep meditation to pick up some of this information. It's like now we're accessing that all the time.
Yeah. It's interesting because my guidance is kind of coming in a bit as we're talking, and it's saying that actually part of that shift was taking us out of the mind matrix, which is obviously the matrix that's controlled a lot of this paradigm we're living on Earth at the moment, and has made us more into the sensory field, so that we can. So essentially, taking us out of the mind and more into the energy and the energy bodies, and we are becoming like these sensory instruments.
Mm. Yeah, that really resonates. I think that is definitely how I've been feeling as well. Um, and I just think the interesting thing is we don't always notice how much we're changing as in our intuition, how much we're picking up, because it's actually our natural state of being is to be highly tuned in to our environment up to the cosmic level. It's just, we've this unnatural distortion or interference. And now we're coming more and more into our intuitive self. It's actually our natural self. So it's kind of sometimes you have to really think about what it was like before to really feel the difference because it's so natural to be so psychic and intuitive.
Yeah. Now it's interesting because we've always kind of worked on that level together, but I remember a time where I felt quite a lot more trapped in my head, like quite a lot more trapped in my mind and having to deal with a lot of mind programming. I can almost remember those, like my head sort of going, having these little programs running and almost observing myself and thinking, what is that about? And having to release those patterns as part of the ascension symptoms and begin to tap into these, these other parts of my sensory system. And you're right, like who we are now and who we were like 10 years ago, I feel like there's, worlds apart really.
Yeah, yeah, same here. It's definitely an exciting time to be on this path and to be kind of seeing the changes. So I really can't predict how our intuition is going to change in the next, 6 months, a year even. I think things are shifting so fast.
I think you're right. Like they're really accelerating. What I noticed like last week, during this alignment, where the planets were obviously lining up in these positions, and they really amplified our own ability to, and this is what I've been sensing into, release old patterns,
Mm,
tap into a deeper wisdom that we're finding within us and not just outside of us, which a lot of us are more channeling more, but actually within us. And also, which I think relates really well to this podcast, is the manifestation of new possibilities coming through.
yeah, yeah. It's like I agree with that. Like as our awareness expands so much, it's that there's more possible timelines and possible opportunities and connections. It's like we're expanding that. energy field, and more can kind of come in for us almost.
Yeah, do you feel, because I know that you work with clients, and do you feel that people are really tapping into a kind of higher purpose within themselves? Like people are getting more online with this energetic change that's happening around us.
I really feel like people are getting stronger. Like the clients that I'm working with are their boundaries are getting stronger, their will, their which all I think points them more into their soul's purpose. Like they're being more brave, more courageous. It's yeah, I think it is that like their higher self is coming more online. And then possibly it might not be conscious, it might be quite subconscious, but knowing that there's more possibilities, like the energy field has expanded so that like a part of them knows that like there's more out there for them. There's more possibility.
Yeah, that's beautiful because there definitely is this kind of breakthrough on a more spiritual level that I'm witnessing too. And this alignment seems to almost like encourage or accelerate people's connection with their true self and help them to align with their intentions, like what I would call their soul purpose or their divine mission, like what they came in to birth in this time.
Mm.
And I'm also seeing that in terms of they're kind of getting more into that physical level of how to create it, whilst they're simultaneously accessing like a higher state of consciousness. So it's it's
Yeah.
kind of interesting because there is this kind of pattern going on that they're releasing more so that they can go higher, but they're actually getting into their bodies more and embracing their soul journey more. So there's this weird um kind of configuration going on, but I just have you seen that as well? Do you think in what's
Yeah, I
going
think
on?
that's a beautiful way of putting it. That those two kind of shifts that they're making, and I really feel like it's what I see in the people I've been working with is they're really much more open to listen to their heart, like being quite heart led. So they're starting to look at opportunities in areas that they've always wanted to work in, that they have like a heart connection to, like an emotional connection to. And that I think is pointing them in the right direction. Like maybe before, I wonder whether this is also linked to self-worth, self-esteem, all of these things are built, we strengthen those the more that we work on the spiritual path. And it's almost like they're allowing themselves to step into areas that maybe they'd kind of just not thought was possible for them, or they should be doing something else. They should be doing the sensible things or what's seen as sensible. And they're just kind of just being a bit braver with their choices.
Yeah, I've noticed that too, this heart-centered space that people seem to be developing more of an idea of service from that place. Rather, I think the old paradigm we've seen service, but it's come in a different way, and then it's been sometimes quite a manipulated service, not through all people, but because people have wanted to be more ego driven or to receive more maybe financially, which is absolutely fine. But I'm noticing that people's offerings are coming more from a kind of spiritual service or like a heart aligned service, like a wanting to help and assist in a particular way rather
Mm,
than what can they get from this, more of an ego driven place viewpoint.
yeah. I think as you're saying that, like the word authenticity was coming through for me. It's like people are
Yeah.
being really authentic in who they are and what they're here to do. And it's just so natural once they kind of connect to that energy.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's,
that's true. And we definitely needed more of that. We needed to see more of that. Because I find it's really inspiring. Like we inspire each other when we see that happening.
yeah, yeah. And even if I was just feeling into that, like even if you're not taking in everything that someone's written about or they're talking about, just the fact that they are more in tune with their heart and their authentic self, it has an energetic impact. It kind of it helps you to resonate with that as well and bring it through to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're activating each other, which is what I love about this.
Yeah. Yeah, for definite. Definite. Um, I wanted to dive a little bit more into the planetary alignment because I know we had a conversation about this and we were both channeling information about it. And I thought on this podcast it might be great to kind of look into some of that channeling and some of the insights that we can and kind of explore them and see if we can bring
Yeah.
more clarity because some I feel like there's more to explore on it.
Yeah, let's do it. So I'm just gonna connect in with my guide. I'm connecting with Commander Ashtar, who is part of the Angelic Council of Light that I work with. Commander Ashtar is a galactic guide, and he comes from quite a high dimensional space. And he is showing me the kind of the vibrations that the planets are creating on Earth. And it's almost like I'm looking at them in this particular alignment, and they're all vibrating slightly differently, and it's creating a frequency, almost like a sort of harmonic when they're together, which is
Yeah,
having an effect on the Earth's atmosphere and the plants and the nature, also actually the weather system. But it's interesting the vibration I'm seeing on humans. I'm seeing a mixture of release, like releasing certainly maybe emotional or astral energy, and releasing like old aspects from the past, like past lives,
mm,
which no longer need to be at the cellular level. And then I'm seeing a kind of very gentle kind of peach pink energy coming in to just create more kind of soothing on the nervous systems, actually.
beautiful.
I'm just seeing if anything else is coming. So there feels like that what's been happening with the planetary alignment we had last week is quite a big shift in what we're going to be able to have access to after this, after we get over this, the effect of it in the next couple of months.
Oh, wow. So when I was tuning in, a lot of the information I was getting was around its impact on the sun, which then and then its impact on the earth. And when I was getting a visual of the energies, like what was going on as the planets, including Earth, align with the sun, and I actually, it's interesting because I could see the vision in my head of what the energy waves look like. And it was only when I was looking at something on the computer and somebody had like an infographic of how our DNA looks like the harmonics of a musical scale, like the way that all the
Oh,
different
yeah.
wavelengths are together in a musical scale. And that's actually what I'd seen come through all the planets as like light energy. It was white and it looked like a harmonic scale, a musical scale. And it was coming right through and going into the sun. And the information I was getting is that as both you and I have discussed before, like each of the planets can be, they're almost gateways from other parts of the universe. So if we, um, just to give context, there's parts of the universe that are extremely far away energetically from us. And in order to kind of connect with those parts of the universe, you can work with one of the planets and the frequency of a planet to connect with the consciousness in that part of the universe. And so I was sensing that these different parts of the universe are bringing through codes, light codes for the sun, and it was kind of coming through the planets. Like that's how they were being able to kind of connect all the energy together from all these different parts of the universe and bring it to the sun. And there was some type of upgrade going on with light codes within the sun. And that was then going to have an impact on Earth. And when we were talking about this briefly the other day, and you were talking about this is kind of quite interesting. You were talking about the plants being from different parts of the universe.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah. So from when I've done like plant studies and sitting talking to the beings of plants, it's amazing the actual frequency of plants is like they're not earthly, like they're not from here, even though the plants grow here, but actually the spiritual being, they all have a divine mission, and a lot of them come through from other dimensions, other planetary spheres, and but they, just like you're saying, they incarnate through the portals linked to certain planets. So this is why I believe that we always used to have herbalists matching a plant to a planet. I mean, some of that would be the energetic effect the plant has. And when we really begin to look at kind of amazing vibrational medicine and like the history of this, it often they they have a resonance with different parts of our bodies, each plant. So that's how it can heal. But it does link back to the planets, just like you're saying. So these amazing beings come through these planetary systems and come to Earth and obviously grow here so that we can see them tangibly and use that they're amazing medicines they're bringing. And that was what we were talking about the other day, wasn't it, Bethan? Because there was something about these new light codes they were being able to receive at this time,
Mm.
and particularly through the sun and these planetary portals that you're describing, which was allowing them to upgrade, allowing them to receive light information that they desperately needed.
Yeah, I was sensing that there's been a distortion in the human energy field, and certain blocks in our energy field. That the same would happen to the plants, and so the new codes that come through to the sun are now going to help the plants come back to their sacred geometry, their true coding, their true their
Yeah.
true energy.
It's almost like they were receiving some sort of, I don't know, antidote or life force or something to
Mm,
help them combat what's going on here on the planet
yeah,
at this time. Yeah.
yeah, all this the interference that we have had. That I think things are really shifting now, though, in terms of all the interference and the blocks and everything like that. But just to follow on from what you were saying about the plants, kind of the energy or the spirit of the plants coming from different places. That's really interesting because I was tuning into different species on the planet some time ago and sensing that every kind of energy and every consciousness in the universe is somehow physically manifested on Earth. So that really ties in with what you've just said about the plants. So this is when I was working with birds and I was sensing that they were um, elementals that hold different dimensional spaces, like
Mhm.
within the universe, and then they're manifested on Earth as birds and they're in the physical. And so I
Yeah.
think it's interesting to understand that we actually have all these cosmic points of consciousness are here in physical form on the Earth as well.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Gaia is the most amazing planet for its diversity. I feel
Yeah,
like we have so much complexity here, and we're only like when people are stuck in this material view where they only look and see what they think they see, um, in terms of matter, actually they're missing this other entire spectrum of like just like what you're describing of these connections to the cosmos and these beings that are coming here and congregating here to work together with us.
yeah, it's just a magical mix of energy here. Well, I think somebody described it as a living library on the Earth. Like
Mm.
every part of the universe has their presence on the earth in some way, and it is just this huge pool of information about life in the universe, which just shows us what a valuable and magical place we're in.
Yeah, I agree. And as soon as you're saying that, I'm being made aware of this beautiful Christ energy that comes from the sun, like these Christ codes
Mhm.
and this solar energy that you were talking about, and how that's almost like having an effect right now, like what's being received. through the solar energy is just an incredible amount of information that we need right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder actually that might be quite good for both of us to tune in. How best can people receive this new information or work with this new information? So maybe both of us can tune in and just see
Yeah.
what comes through.
Yeah, let's try that. Let's have a look.
Okay.
Okay, well, the first thing that I'm receiving is almost like the traditional kind of sunbathing idea, but not quite, just sitting outside, breathing, being still, but actually focusing on your inner sun, like being like your heart space, the energy in your body. And I'm seeing it more like the heart than the solar plexus, interestingly, but um, just seeing the sun growing there and responding to the sun that's out there, if that makes sense. So it's like more of an internal viewpoint than an external viewpoint.
Yeah, I love that. Really love that. It's interesting because when I was tuning in and I was kind of imagining stand because I was actually on the beach on the day of the planetary alignment and I had this really profound connection with the sun. This is before I tuned in and kind of saw the light codes coming in and things. And it actually I had tears in my eyes because I suddenly had this profound moment when the sun was warming my face and it felt so kind of it felt so loving actually, like a loving energy or something.
Yeah.
And I had a huge emotional reaction in my body, which was quite unexpected. So I was just imagining kind of being on the beach again and looking at the sun. And actually, for me, it was really coming in um, into my solar plexus, which is interesting that you were sensing it was the heart. So I'm thinking maybe it's more of an individual impact. Possibly maybe for me, my solar plexus needs that energy right now.
Yeah.
But what I was sensing, but wherever you receive it, I was sensing to send it down your body and down into the earth and that we're helping to ground these codes. Like,
Yeah.
I think humans don't realize how much energy work you're doing and how powerfully you can assist and support a lot of the processes. So, sending it down through your body and intentionally sending it down into the earth. But I also saw us sort of pushing it up through our crown chakra and almost like it seems to be feeding a bit like I never remember that name. Like the donut shaped energy field, like an electromagnetic field
Oh, the
is in
Taurus. Is it
Taurus. Yeah,
Taurus?
that's
Yeah.
it. I could almost see it like a Taurus, so coming up from your crown, up to sort of almost as if the earth, you're imagining like the aura around the earth, and it goes up and it's strengthening the aura of the
Yeah.
earth.
Beautiful. Yeah, just as you're saying that, I'm being told it's like a realignment of self, meaning who we are on an individual level,
Yeah.
which I don't know if people realize that we're being constantly misaligned because of these outside distortions and how they affect us, how they affect the physical body, but also our mental, emotional, spiritual bodies.
Mm.
And if we align ourselves, then we're actually also aligning back to that structure linked to the solar energy, linked to the Christ codes energy, which is linking to the solar being of the sun.
Mm. Beautiful. Let's see if anything else comes through for either of us.
Well, even as we're saying that, I'm sort of imagining the process now, and I'm feeling my third eye, which links to light, actually receiving much more downloads and information. It's almost like the light codes release memory in my body, like release cellular memory, and then my third eye is able to kind of process that information and it releases knowledge about myself, but also about other things that are around me. And when I say myself, I feel like it releases information about your sensory system and past lives, also your Akashic record. And there's just a deeper knowing about who you are and where you've come from,
Mm.
which my guide is telling me that helps to also align people to their soul mission. Like why, it gives people more certainty about who they are and why they came to Earth this time. So there's like a sort of dualistic effect going on here of knowing who you are as yourself, but also your connection in the cosmos.
Yeah, yeah, that unity consciousness. Yeah, that's beautiful. And I feel like that feels like a big shift recently. Um, I see it kind of in myself, but also people that I've spoken to or worked with, that we're really getting to know, we're really concentrating on ourselves more, and not in like a, not in an ego way, but learning more about ourselves. So that really lines up with what you're channeling.
Well, and I think it's great that you just said that, like not in an ego way, because I think it was definitely in the modern Western society, we're kind of taught, kind of don't be selfish, like don't think about yourself much, or like drawing your attention out of yourself rather than focusing on your inner world. And I feel that this part of this healing is that we're actually finding ourselves again, finding like who we truly are, like our natural, authentic self. But it's happening in the most unusual way. Like it's happening in a way through these planetary alignments that we couldn't even have predicted.
Yeah, and I think the beauty of it is the more that we know of ourselves, the more unity consciousness we're in. So
That's right.
the more we see ourselves as kind of part of the collective, yeah, it's definitely an energy I want to kind of just keep diving into. It's yeah,
Yeah, well, it's
it's
so
different.
weird. I think we've been sort of conditioned as part of this distortion to think that, oh, everything we need is outside of ourselves, or like we need more connection outside of ourselves. But actually, what I'm being shown with this channeling is what we really need is to get into ourselves, like be
Yeah,
more connected with ourselves because that helps us to connect with others.
yes, yeah, and authentically, yeah, definitely.
So, as this alignment progresses, I think it's really interesting because on a spiritual level, I can see that we are aligning to something new. Like maybe it's our intentions for what we want to create as we go forward. Um, but also, it's also helping us to reflect on what we're letting go of. I think here I've seen a lot of like people talking about past lives again last 2 weeks, where they're releasing a lot of that information. And I'm wondering if we're just kind of clearing ourselves up, like another level of our ascension pathway, where it's helping us to get rid of the old stuff, bring in the new, and embrace this kind of new stage of the soul journey.
Yeah, definitely. It feels almost like it feels quite effortless at the moment, just shrugging things off is the feeling that I'm getting. Like I just don't need that belief anymore. Or, and it's happening so fast. I can look at decisions that I made even just 2 months ago or 3 months ago that I wouldn't do now. Decisions that got me to where I am now, but I'm a different person, and it's we're just letting go of so much so quickly.
You're absolutely right. It's almost like I know we've had this chat off air, like where it's been hour to hour. Like,
Yeah,
one of the hours has been like a very, very intense process, and you kind of wonder where did that come from? And then almost by the minute when you're in the second part of the day, it's completely different again, and the energy's lifted. So things are very, very quick at the moment.
yeah, yeah. But I think we're getting so much more adept at observation and observing rather than being right in it all the time. So I can observe, okay, this morning I was in a blissful state, I was peaceful, and this afternoon I'm in inner child and I feel emotionally very heavy. But it's almost like a really hyper observant, and also there's more confidence now knowing that okay, this is just temporary and it'll probably shift in about an hour's time.
Yeah. And I've actually really enjoyed that, the temporary nature of it, because some of these states, even 10 years ago, they could take months or could it be in these states for like a week or a couple of months. And I just feel like, well, now I can pretty much trust that it's going to transform, or I can alchemize it or shift it or move it through my system much, much, much quicker.
Yeah, you're right. I think things that would have taken us weeks or months, and now you can do it in hours.
Yeah.
Um, so it is an incredible time. And I think for some people, they might not quite realize how many things they're going through in the day. If you're distracted or you're really busy, you're just carrying on. But it's because of the type of work we do. We're doing a lot of tuning in, whether it's for ourselves, if it's for other people, it's for what we're writing. So we're becoming kind of hyper aware of the different states a lot of the time.
And I hope that at some point we're going to do one of those special release pathways that we've been practicing and doing, and maybe on air, but so people can hear
Yeah,
about the process that we've been going through and teaching ourselves, and channeling from our guidance about how to move through these states and release them so that you can make more space for your higher timelines to start activating in you.
yeah, we've definitely been doing some incredible work, which would be great to share. And some of the kind of, I mean, some of the stuff that we've been doing, it leads. We start with an area that we want to release, and then it always links in with like a much bigger collective picture or huge shift for the earth. And so it's been really profound, some of the things that we've been working with, um, and the changes that have been coming through. So yeah, that would be a great future episode.
So, Bethan, if you had a piece of advice for listeners to take away to help them with these planetary alignments as they go through the rest of March and into April, is there anything in particular coming up that you would offer?
Yeah, I think that the more that we can be aware of these cosmic events, the more we can work with the energy. Um, and a lot of the time, the energy is not exactly push and pull, but there'll be a release and expansion, release and expansion. I've just been studying and writing about the upcoming eclipses, and that they always follow each other 2 weeks later. You get an eclipse, then 2 weeks later, you get another eclipse. One's lunar and one's solar. And one is always about release and purging and the shadow coming up. And then the solar one is always about more expansion, like new timelines and change. And it's just, if you can tune into these cosmic events, you get into that rhythm of release and expansion, which is our natural way of kind of healing and moving on to higher timelines. So just becoming more aware of what's coming up and kind of working your whatever practices you have, whether it's journaling or meditation or tuning in and just bringing your awareness to them of like, okay, I'm going to work with these energies and the energies that they're supporting us with, um, like allowing them to come into your practices.
That's really great advice because these energy surges are actually helping us, aren't they? They're helping us to move through these shifts quite rapidly. So make use of them, like surf the wave. I was just listening to you then, and what they were showing me is this very gentle ability at this time to just surf the wave, just like you're saying, like move with it, but also I was just being made aware to just be really thankful and grateful, like be in a state of grace, because what's being released here is eons and eons of material. Like this is not just this life. This is like a continuum of the soul's journey. And it's like you'll never ever be have this opportunity quite like this again. So try and make the most of it. Try and realize that this is, every single state that you're going through is probably in that configuration the only time you'll experience it. So like bless it, like know that it's passing through, but also bless the way things have been and that things are changing.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic advice. And just, yeah, I can really feel into that motivation actually to make the most of these opportunities, and how much of a gift many of these transformative moments have when things can feel so emotionally hard, yet there's there's a gift in what you can release. So yeah, that's brilliant.
So I think we're coming to the end of our podcast for today. And so I guess the only thing there is to say that it's been wonderful having a chat with you, Bethan, and maybe for our guides and viewers to remember that their inner light is leading their way and that they're right where they need to be.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And yeah, thank you. It's been lovely chatting with you, and sending lots of love to everybody listening to this, and look forward to recording another episode soon.